All right, guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. Not doing a live stream this week. It is the Tour Championship, a little bit different event. We decided to bring in another special guest host. It's going to be Joe, who actually put on the DFS Open, him and another guy. If you just want to give a quick breakdown of that and then give yourself a little intro, Joe.
Yeah, sure. What's going on, guys? My name is Joe Idoni. I live down here in Florida. So, the DFS Open kind of originated as an idea there was a lot of people coming down here for the Honda Classic week. So we wanted to sort of do something special. It started where like 8 of us were like, let's all get together in golf. And then that turned into 16. And then we just kind of had an idea to, invite anyone who wanted to come. A lot of these people know each other through these different circles of podcasts and media content and whatnot, but have never really met. So we kind of had the idea to bring everyone together for one weekend. We'll play a round of golf. We'll do a little party the night before and just give everyone the chance to sort of shake hands pre-coronavirus pandemic right before it hit. So it was a good time, and we were able to raise a good bit of money to benefit the First Tee organization. So it was good stuff.
Yeah, it definitely was good timing for all of us, I guess, to have it right there at the end of February. And speaking for myself, I'm sure Eric feels the same way. I think it was for you maybe too, it was better than expected. I had an unbelievable time, and it kind of sucks. I know we're all from the north, kind of where we get shitty winters, and to come down to Florida in the end of February is always nice. And you get a golf, that's always nice too. But I just want to know, when you're traveling now in the future, is there a specific hotel that you're going to be staying at more often than not that sponsors a golf tournament that just happened a couple of weeks ago?
I'm pretty fond. I'm a big fan of the Wyndham Rewards. I like to get my Wyndham Rewards in there and start collecting some points. But had a good week at the Wyndham Champ the other week. So I know they own everything, like Days Inn, Holiday Inn, whatever it is. So I should start collecting some points with them.
Was there like a guy that you put in your lineup last second, or were you kind of set on those 6 guys going into it?
I was kind of set on them. I put it in like any other week where you enter in a couple. I don't put in a ton of lineups. I usually do 3 or 4. I was kind of set in my ways. I knew I was going for guys that sort of were familiar with that region and were birdie makers. Like anything else, there's a full share of luck that goes into play because most weeks I swing and whiff, but it happened to be one of those weeks where things unfolded the way that I needed them to. And, I was sitting on a lead on Saturday night in first place. And luckily, my partner on a podcast that I do with Chad, he kind of was really pushing me to okay, let's get this out there that you're in first. And I was really hesitant because I didn't want to jinx it by any means. But we did, and I started falling down the leaderboard and came back up, and it was sort of a crazy finish on 18 that got me into a tie for second place. Nice little payday.
Dude, so you summed up something pretty well. It's like the screenshot or not to screenshot, it's like that's a real problem. It just really is. It's like, because one, you don't want to be that guy that's sending screenshots out there, big wins, that's not going to come through. But also, it's like you want people to experience the sweat with you because it's fun. And obviously, that was a great time. Did you have Kevin Kisner by chance?
I did not have Kisner. Kisner
Really?
was actually the guy that ended up passing me on Sunday had Kisner, and that was one of the big reasons. I wasn't actually, to be honest, I wasn't a couple points away. He won by 12 or something like that, so it wasn't one shot here or there. But I had Siwoo, so obviously him taking those couple of double bogeys hurt me. Everyone kind of had Siwoo, but the big thing was that Billy Horschel didn't win. Because nobody had Jim Herman. He was 1% owned. So a ton of people had Horschel, and if they had gotten those first place points, it would have brought me way down the list. And in these big contests, you go from second to ninth, and it's $110,000 difference. You go from winning 6 figures to winning $500 so that quickly. Fortunate for me, Herman kind of pulled it out as unlikely as it was, and it was a fun sweat.
Isn't it crazy that Jim Herman's kind of the better golfer than Tony Finau? I think you can maybe safely say that.
He's look, he's got the trophies on the mantle to stake that claim. I still think Finau, I'd take him 10 out of 10 times going into an event, but look, you got to hoist trophies. It's the PGA Tour. That's the deal.
Yeah.
We might bring up Tony Finau here a little bit later on when we get into some picks. I'm just throwing that out there. But dude, for me, I had like a lineup that touched first place at like each part of the week. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And like the best finish I had was like, I think 90th. And that was, for me, it was Billy Horschel because he didn't win. But
Yeah.
I would rather have someone in the community, someone like you who actually came through for kind of the whole golf community with, once again, going back to that DFS Open. It was like just an awesome event. And I think Hazi already said it went above and beyond expectations. I know I played with like a guy that's like a Corn Ferry Tour like Monday qualifier, which is probably why my team got second, although I did do decent. But he pretty much said that it was like a better setup event than like a lot of those events. And I was just like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And then the fact that it went towards like a charity golf event, it was like the first tee, that was just absolutely phenomenal to see.
Yeah, it was cool. It went from something that was going to be like very just let's wing it, let's go have a good time. And then we started putting out registrations and it went fast. Like people started registering and it got real really quickly for Ryan and I. Like, luckily he has had some experience. He's a former golf pro and running tournaments. I had none. So we had a course picked out and we just wanted to make sure that it was a good experience for people being the first one. I know a lot of people were really, nervous booking flights down, not really knowing what to expect. Is it like Fire Fest 2.0? But luckily we were able to pull this together, and I think it was fairly organized and went pretty smoothly. I mean, I think everyone had a good time who I spoke with.
I don't think there was one person that didn't have a good time. The question I know me and Hazi both have is is there going to be DFS Open 2? And if so, what are the plans in hand for that?
100% there is going to be DFS Open 2. We wanted to make it sort of an annual thing. As of right now, down here in Florida, like no courses are willing to like really even book dates at this point.
Yeah.
Things are starting to ease back into normalcy, I want to believe, but I thought I thought that back in June it went the other way. And but yes, there are plans to do it. They aren't solidified at this point. We are in talks with another course that is significantly nicer than the one we played last year, which should be a fun experience for everyone. But we just want to make sure that we're able to do it right and everyone's able to get in safely and make it happen as a community and all sort of come together. And I'm hopeful that, as 2021 turns, we're in a good place. But it's like anything else right now. It's just you can't make those plans at this point, and the course won't make those plans. So we're kind of at the mercy of the COVID-19. But it's going to happen, whether it's in 2021 or 2022. There will be another one.
Yeah, and I don't know, just by you saying that, I'm already fired up because I thought the course last year was really good. It was a little bit short, but it was in really good shape. And the biggest thing for me about a course is the tee box need to be manicured and the greens need to be good. And I think both those things were the case last year. So the fact that you have plans to go somewhere nicer is definitely got me excited.
Yeah, it was fun. It is a short, nicely manicured course. Between us, we had a little bit of like struggle in communication with them, and they just wanted a lot. Like to host it there. Look, no place, especially that weekend down in Florida, that's everyone's busiest weekend of the year for courses down here. They book tee times from open to close because everyone wants to play golf the week of the Honda. So nobody really wants to book an event like that and sort of hold their course hostage for a day. So they, we paid for that experience. But I just think that there's, like, people down here will tell you there are a ton of options down here, and just to do something new and fresh and maybe get on a little bit nicer track and have, kind of elevate that experience for everyone, I think will be a cool opportunity, and we're hoping to do that.
Yeah, especially because that area where you live, West Palm Beach, like there's so many courses. It works to us, the players, way more than it does for them. So you can definitely shop around it. Because I know you're looking for a course. Did you end up finding one, or are you still in the process of trying to find a club to join?
Oh, you mean in terms of like joining a club?
Yeah.
So I have it
Personally.
narrowed down to like 2 spots, which are pretty close to my house. I'm looking at this place, the Falls Club, and this other course, Aberdeen. So I'm kind of still in between. Like I'm holding off right now because they're not like both of them and all the country clubs at this point. You cannot bring guests. So I'm hoping that's lifted soon, but I'm not going to join like if I can't bring any of my friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To come play with me, and I'm not doing it necessarily to network and to socialize and to meet people. I'm doing it for the golf and to bring my like existing crew of friends along with me and a chance to play some sweet courses. But both of them are unbelievable tracks. I tested them both out. You know, it's just a matter of picking one when the time is right.
Yeah.
What do you typically shoot?
What's that?
What do you typically shoot?
My handicap's an 11. I feel like I'm a little bit better than that, but it depends. I go on runs, man. I'm very streaky. Like I can figure something out and put together a couple rounds in the high 70s, 78, 79, 77. But usually I'm between 82 and 85.
Yeah.
You know, weekender. I've got 2 young kids. I've got a full-time job, so I'm not getting out there and practicing or playing as much nearly as I used to be able to do.
I hear you there. This whole start of the summer, I was like +2 to even par, like just trying to go like under par. And then lately it's like I can't hit a drive straight. And it's like I'm just trying not to make bogey. It's one of the weird things. Last question for me before we get into stuff, though. So you guys started the Preferred Lines podcast, right?
Yes.
I see the towel there in the background.
Yep.
That's a new thing for you, right?
Yeah, totally. So Chad, who, you know, kind of started and founded the Fantasy Golf Pod, he had me on there, the Fantasy Golf Pod, about a year ago. You know, we kind of exchanged information, talked back and forth. And once golf sort of paused, I kind of hit him with the idea. And I'm like, look, I think that if you ever want to do a betting show, not necessarily a DraftKings show, but a betting show, you know, I'd love to help you out with it. We kind of made that happen. You know, once the tour resumed, it was kind of nice, the little break, because it gave us the chance to get our shit together and sort of figure it out versus, you know, when the season's going, it's such a grind, and to be able to prepare and launch something on a week's notice and then you go to the next week, it's tough. So we had a little bit of time to figure out a plan, and we've kind of went with it. So I think it's going well. You know, we get some downloads. We have a few people who enjoy it. So that's worth it for me.
Yeah. And so I'm guessing you met him through the DFS Open and whatnot too. Is that accurate or no?
Well, he actually had me on Fantasy Golf Pod before that. So he had kind of followed my account. I had it was actually the Northern Trust of last year where I had a pretty good DraftKings week. It wasn't anything great, but I won a couple $1,000 and I hit Patrick Reed. And, you know, so he brought me on there, and it was just kind of cool to talk to those guys. We have sort of a similar vibe, I guess, about us, where we don't take ourselves too seriously. And that's kind of our main thing, is like, we're not pitching a tout service. We're not selling picks. We're just trying to be, you know, dudes who talk about this stuff and do it as a hobby more than as a profession. And I think some people can kind of relate to that.
Yeah. That's kind of been my whole thing too, just for like the PGA DFS side of it. It's like I'm more focused on people being able to like profit each week. Like I'm not focused on like the 1% victories, which I know a lot of people do, and like that's a good thing. That's a big side of it, like GPP wins. But like I'm focused on getting those players that are, you know, 6 for 6 across the cut line, just helping players that are gonna, you know, cash each week. And I think that's just the general DraftKings player. But I do want to say the DFS Open is kind of what brought me and Hazy together. I know like right when the break hits, I kind of was like figuring things out. I'm like, I kind of want to bring someone back on. I know me and Hazy connected pretty well there at the DFS Open. And eventually, I think he jumped into a live stream. I'm like, oh, great. I've been wanting this guy to come on and talk like a little bit of fantasy football. And we just started messaging. And sure enough, he's on 9 to 5 now. So That's
Dude,
to
that's
you
awesome.
and Ryan. Yeah, it
Well,
is pretty
thanks to you.
sweet.
Yeah, you and Ryan.
And I like to hear that. That's what was kind of, I think, unique about it is like we all sort of, I feel like we all know each other, but it's through the computer or it's through the phone, right? Like no one is really like out there like meeting each other and playing golf. So that was like a really cool, like there were people, who like, Kenny and Tambo, for instance, who do the Fantasy Golf Degenerates pod, like they've done it for years. They'd never even met each other.
Yeah.
So like there were so many like for the first time got to be like what's up, dude? Like let's hang out, let's have a beer, like let's play golf, let's go over to the Honda, let's bullshit with each other like in real life and have a real experience besides virtually through a keyboard or through a phone. So that's kind of what we were trying to bring to it. And people, a lot of people too were I don't want to say enemies, but they're in the same space, like competing for the same views and downloads, and they have similar services that they offer and whatnot. So, it's one thing when you don't know someone personally to feel like you're all at battle to like be the top spot. But when you come together and meet each other and you're like, look, there's, the water rises, it's going to bring everyone up, right? And there's enough people out here and there's enough elevation in the game of golf to bring everyone together and there's a spot for everyone.
Well, I think that was the best part about the Drive Shack thing was better than a dinner or whatever thing else you'd come up with. I think having everyone meet there, not only get to golf, but also mingle a little bit. So it made the next day even that much better. And then when you're at the Honda, you can start talking to some guys, say what's up, whatever. So much better than just meeting everyone fresh Saturday morning at 7 a.m. or whatever the case would have been. So I think that was by far and away the best decision of the whole DFS, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that was like a big move. I've played in a bunch of charity scrambles. I'm sure you guys have too. And like the thing is you show up there in the morning, right? You get in your cart, you see the guys that you're paired up with, and you usually have a great time with those guys. But you don't meet or talk really with any of the other groups there because you're so you're in your foursome and you're playing the course together and you don't really get the chance to meet anyone else. So that's kind of what was unique about it is we gave the opportunity for everyone to meet and greet and mingle, like you said, on Friday night. And then when you showed up on Saturday, you saw some familiar faces and, there were some stories from the night before. So stuff like that is always fun. And I think people enjoyed that and it made Saturday a little more easy for everyone.
Just to wrap up the DFS thing, unless you have anything else to say, is there anything new you're going to add to the next one, or you haven't really thought that far in advance?
Well, we're looking like we're just still trying to find, partners to sort of assist with it. And I think the first tee is really going to step it up for us this year. They were blown away. I think they were really scared, if I'm being honest, because, there's this sort of DraftKings and fantasy and gambling aspect to it, and they weren't really sure. Like we had never done it before, so they were hesitant to really attach themselves to it. But I think we really blew them away. I think the amount of money that we were able to raise, coupled with how smoothly the event went, they're totally on board this year with sort of helping us and assisting with getting additional partners, whether it be in the community, getting items that maybe we're able to auction off or something like that at the event, signed apparel and stuff like, they have access. The first tee is basically linked with the PGA Tour hand in hand and has been for a long time. So they have access to maybe open some doors that we weren't able to open in year one. So hoping to utilize that. And of course, I'm still trying to knock down the doors through email and whatever to get DraftKings involved. I mean, I would love to do that. That's been my goal from the beginning. It's like feels really tough to get someone like on the phone there and talk to a real person. But that's what I'm still trying to do. And once we have a course and a plan, and now that we have some history to back it up, hopefully they're a little more receptive.
Yeah, the first tee in gambling, I don't think is synonymous. So I can see why the first tee was a little bit hesitant at the beginning. But yeah, it's weird. I would think that the DraftKings would want to be associated with it, considering there was a few of their guys that were down there anyway. So they should hopefully come around.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it was a lot of their bigger players. Like, if we're being honest, the guys that play in the bigger tournaments were mostly a part of it. And you're right; they should want to be there at an event like that. And I just feel like I have to talk to the right person, right?
Mhm.
If I can just get it in front of the right person and grab his ear for a minute, I think that they would be all about it. It's just, they don't have a phone number. Their email is like, you got to talk to the customer service team who's used to just issues with. They don't know how to answer those type of questions.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that, and I'm confident that if not this year, soon, I'm going to be able to get someone.
Yeah, I like that. And I don't know if we really need to touch on it anymore. That was pretty sweet. That just the whole DFS Open in general is a good time. But honestly, like having someone like DraftKings or even the First Tee come and sponsor, that'd be huge. But like, I don't want to go on it too much longer. But like, I know you were hitting up the Outlaw Tour a little bit like that. Even something as simple as that, where like DraftKings is like, hey, we're going to put a little bit of coverage out there for the DFS Open. All your favorite like content providers and some of the bigger players that you might know of are going to be playing this event. It's going to be a niche thing. It's going to be for charity, but you can like draft a lineup like that or something. I think the like fans out there would enjoy that. Just in general, it'd be a fun thing for them to experience too.
I think so too, and we kind of try to do. I know Rick kind of put something similar to that together.
Yeah,
it's tough because there's not rules officials or whatever it may be, so you're kind of limited. You're trusting everyone out there to enter honorable scores and whatnot, and whatever it may be. And there's a ton of people of all different playing abilities, so it was hard to really handicap something like that and give teams prices, but I think he did a pretty good job. Some people were into it. We had the little bit of live scoring action going on, which was a cool little feature as well. So you kind of knew where you stood, where your team stood versus others, and people could follow along. But yeah, it'd be awesome to do something like that for sure.
Yeah, I think go ahead. Bigger contest there, someone could pull out the foot wedge or take a couple extra putts or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it could be a little bit difficult. You don't have Slugger White manning on his cart there, driving around to assess proper penalties and drops.
Pull out there in your Patrick Reed out there.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of those situations.
You never know, man. There's a lot of people on the course at once. I like to think we kind of police ourselves, but you just never know.
No, at least that crew did. It seemed like we had a pretty decent, honest group of guys there that year, but you never know going forward when it gets bigger. But let's segue into the Tour Championship now. I know, like, I haven't talked to Ozzy too much about this one too much, but for me personally, like DFS wise, but also betting wise, very limited week for me. There's like 5 bets I have out there for like outrights is what I'm kind of thinking, and then like 5 for top 10s, and that's about it for me. On the DFS side of it, I'm like doing a couple single entries, mix and match in a couple of builds to try to have an optimal lineup approach. We'll start with Ozzy here, and then Joe, you can answer it as well. Kind of what's your approach for this week, Ozzy?
Yeah, I guess it depends. Just, you got Webb Simpson has the same number with strokes that he does without, so that's obviously going to be a play without strokes. There's only been a 1-year really trial run of this. We saw Rory win both last year, so it'll be a little bit unique again this year to see if the trend continues. But and then you see a guy like Bryson 23-1. I think that's a good number as well. If he can start hitting the ball a little bit straighter and his irons come around just a little bit, I think he can compete and win this year.
Yeah, for me in terms of like approach this week, I'm scaling back some. I talked with Chad about this, but I don't like this format. And I feel, limited field. The starting strokes just throws a whole wrinkle into things that is unfamiliar to me. I've been betting golf for 10 plus years, so I kind of know how the odds typically correlate. Some of these really threw me for a loop in terms of you see guys with strokes and without, and the differences. Like you said, Webb is almost the same, but you go down the list a little bit and they're kind of all over the map, and I can't really figure out why. So I'm scaling back a little bit. I think Webb has a good chance. I've bet on Morikawa with and without strokes. He's 1 stroke back of Webb, and you're catching another 6 or 7 points off what you get on Webb at 20-1. I think that he's as good a form as Webb has been in, and people like to say he's in as good a form as anyone. Morikawa might be better. Webb won Birdie Fest. He won at Phoenix and he won at Heritage. Morikawa was winning tough tournaments. Worked a PGA championship. He was right there in the first tournament back in San Antonio. So, look, if he pulls that off and can somehow win he's right up for Player of the Year if he can win this week.
So personally, I didn't want to pull the trigger on Morikawa this week, but I just ended up having to, pretty much for the reasons that you stated. And also, I think he's going to be a little bit lower owned, but he's also at a starting spot where he could go on and win. So it's like I was just kind of forced into betting him. And also, it's like, yes, he played really well on those tough courses. This is going to be a tough course. He should be able to go out and win. It just makes a ton of sense. But also, just going back to you mentioned the odds that don't make any sense. So I really personally like Sebastian Munoz this week, like I did kind of the last 2 weeks. I'm seeing him at 200 to 1 on DK Sportsbook. You got Tony Finau at 55 to 1. He's starting at -2. Munoz is starting at -3. And then you also have Billy Horschel at 225 to 1, which is just insane. I think Horschel's starting at even par or -1. It's just like, come on. That just doesn't match up. That's just a weird one to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Joe, too, when you talk about Webb Simpson, I think him not playing last week is actually an advantage. That's last week that would have been, it's just a grind to watch last week. Imagine having to actually play out of there, and not just mentally, like physically. A lot of guys are going to be worn down after playing Olympia Fields, how tough it was. So someone must have called Webb and was like, hey, don't even worry about it, bud. Just come, just meet me in Atlanta. It's not even worth it. You're not even going to fall down that much. So I think that'll play into Webb's hands a lot too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he lost, 2 strokes? He was in third coming in, so he's 2 strokes lower. Yeah. He could make that up in a hole, right? Yeah. So I think it was a great, and that course did not set up well for him. He's back in his region of the country where he's familiar. He's back on those Bermuda grass greens where he usually torches, and he's back on a Donald Ross design golf course, which he also likens. So everything sets up nicely for Webb. It was just a play on the number for me. My one book that I had, it was 12 to 1 and Morikawa was 20. And I like the extra 8 points there, trying to erase 1 stroke off where Webb's starting. That's all it was.
I mean, the theme this week is that none of these guys should be bad plays. It's just really picking and choosing your spots. Obviously, it's the Tour Championship. Most of them are in good recent form or good enough. It's just picking and choosing your spots. So it's tough. So none of you guys touched on it. So I know it seems like a lot of the fantasy golf community is deciding to fade Dustin Johnson. Hazy, what are your thoughts? And then Joe, what are your thoughts on Dustin Johnson this week?
Quickly, Joe, are you okay to stay a little bit longer, or you're good?
I got a couple more minutes. Yeah.
Man, I don't know. It feels like DJ could just run away with it again. He's just playing so well, but because the guy shoots 80-80, and I think the withdraw at the 3M Open was bullshit. Just in terms of, he had like 6 or 7 birdie putts on that front 9 that just didn't fall. But it's like you go and he shoots that at TPC Twin Cities, and then it goes out and dominates. So I don't know what golfer you're going to get with DJ, but I'm going to assume it's the more recent DJ. So, 2-shot lead for him. It might just be a 2-horse race with him and Rahm going. I don't know. So if I had to choose one side or the other, though, I'm going to say it's the DJ that we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think he can shoot 2 under every day and probably win, right? That gets him to 18 under. That's probably enough for him. It's a golf course where he's had some success in the past, and the form is just right there right now. I know JT talked last year about how awkward it was starting with the lead. I don't think DJ's going to feel that. I just don't think he thinks like that. He's just there and play golf and shoot at pins.
Yeah.
So kind of my thing, a point I brought up on Monday's video is that, Rory went out and won because he had to go out and shoot at pins, where I think, some of the other guys on the top end were kind of protecting the lead a little bit. For me, I'm trying to find a couple of guys that I think could possibly go out and attack the pins and have a chance to win, or maybe get a top 5. For me, I'm liking Daniel Berger a ton. Obviously, we've seen him go on and score. For me, ranks out as like a top 5 stat fit. He's had a great year. The only problem with him is that he's priced in the spot with like Hideki, Xander, and Harris English, who I actually like a ton. And for me personally, if I was doing betting, I would kind of favor Harris English just because we're getting favorable odds. Do you guys have any kind of takes on that? And then also, I do want to mention my boy Terrell Hatton. I do kind of like a ton as well.
Yeah, I just think that I think someone from the Golf Channel tweeted out today the rough doesn't seem penal at all for these guys, these longer guys. So I think that being as accurate off the tee is not going to be as important as it maybe was last year, or definitely as it was last week. But yeah, seeing like guy Harris English, I don't really see him win ever, but I mean he's always up there. He avoids making big numbers, and his birdie or bogey avoidance. Bogey avoidance is up there on the PGA Tour. So at 45-1, I think that's a good number for him.
Yeah, for me, these guys kind of down in this range, I'm looking at sort of the without starting strokes sort of bet. So just betting them to have the lowest 72 hole score or a top 5. They're just starting a little too far back, and they're chasing the number 1, 2, and 3 player in the world. So it's going to be tough for them to pull it off. They're going to have to go really low 4 straight days.
Well, that's kind of my thing with those guys. It's that they are consistent golfers, where if they're just golfing consistently, like better than the field, they could put themselves right in contention on Sunday. And that's kind of why I was kind of favoring, kind of like Berger and English a little bit more. I know, kind of on the deeper end, who would you guys say has the best chance to go out and this is more of a PGA DFS question, has the best chance to go out and kind of make up their salary? I'm looking at someone like Lando Griffin, maybe Mackenzie Hughes, Cameron Champ's a scorer. You guys already know I mentioned this, but I love Sebastian Munoz. Who are you guys kind of favoring down there?
I know his salary might not be the lowest, but I think Tony Finau this week, 10 strokes back to start. I don't think he's going to win, but I could definitely go out and see him win the lowest 4-round total, but not actually win the event. That'd be the most Tony Finau thing of all time. So I think he can definitely outscore his number.
Would you bet him to top 10 then, pretty aggressively in that sense? Because he's at -2. He just has to make up like 1 or 2 strokes to potentially do that.
I think it's a better without strokes bet than his top 5, because I think Tony might not really realize where he is in the tournament and just keep packing flags. And when Tony's loose and confident, I think that's when he does best. So I think without strokes is probably just the way to go.
So you kind of brought up a question of mine. So Kevin Kisner, he kind of made that comment a couple of weeks ago where he's like, when DJ's playing that way, I just know to gain some money.
Yeah,
Is he going to be a guy that goes out and tries to gain some money this week?
100%. Kevin Kisner's all about that cash. You know that. He seems like a gambling man as well. So he's made a pretty penny so far in his career, and I think he's going to continue that this week.
I like that. So doing a PGA DFS lineup, he's probably going to be low because of his horrible recent form. Obviously, he's a pretty good stat fit. Am I just dumb to put him in a main build? Because I never like to bet on ownership, but that's kind of what I'm trying to do here.
Man, he's a Bermuda guy. I mean, everywhere he's played well, it's been on this type of golf course. With the Bermuda type style greens, we saw obviously one at the Honda. He loves Florida type of golf courses, and this is another one of those. So I don't think it's at the Wyndham last time we saw him play well, it was the same again. Bermuda greens, Bermuda fairways. So I definitely think Sanjay can play well again this week.
Yeah.
Probably going to be lower owned as well.
Yeah, see, I think he's going to be the one guy at like -4 or -3 that's the lowest owned. And it's like, it's Sanjay M. He could kind of figure it out. I mean, obviously he hasn't been playing well too much recently, but he's shown signs of upside. I don't know. That could be like one where it's like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense at the end of the week where it's like, yeah, that worked out well. But that's kind of the week that we have. Do you want to do any U.S. Open bets at all by chance?
I don't know. After last week, man, I honestly feel like you could probably just bet the top 10 of last week's leaderboard and add Webb Simpson in maybe and be content with it, to be honest with you.
Dude, so I was honestly mad that Webb didn't play last week for that reason. I'm like, I was thinking about like he'd be a great pick for the US Open, but he didn't play. So that was my biggest worry there.
Well, there's going to be no top 40 bets this week.
Right? No top 40 bets, no made cut bets. So.
Yeah, seriously.
No top 20 bets.
Wouldn't that be the most Tony Finau thing of all time, though? Would just be to win without strokes. The guy who never wins to win the low 72-hole total.
That would be great. That'd be perfect right there, honestly. I like him a ton. And you mentioned him. He's like 8.2 on DraftKings. I don't know. I want him. But, like, honestly, DraftKings did a great job where every single one of my favorite builds, 100 off. It's just 100 too much. And it's the worst feeling. And like I made 5 where I'm like, this is a great build. Let's try to finish it out here. Couldn't do it. Worst
Man,
feeling.
and I don't this like there's a shit ton of money available this week. It's like I don't know how that's going to affect certain guys. Like just like DJ's persona and mannerisms on the golf course, like that's kind of Tony Finau again. And it's like Lanto Griffin being there for the first time, Mackenzie Hughes being there for the first time. Like you could see that maybe affecting some guys on Sunday, Monday because it's a Labor Day finish, as opposed to guys like Tony. That's just like like if Tony Finau quits golf right now after the Tour Championship, he will be fine. His kids will be fine. His grandkids will be fine. Like money will not be an issue for them. So, but Lanto Griffin, he had that article in Golf Digest a couple last year at some time where he literally he said he was broke 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And now he's on the Tour Championship. Life-altering money, man. So it could affect some people differently.
So you mentioned Lanto Griffin. I actually really like him as a play this week. He's kind of, for me, I had labeled him as a lineup filler where it's like I'm just kind of ending up on him. But to bet him to top 10 or top 5, not top 5, that's crazy. Top 10, I don't mind it. He's a guy that has really actually played well in these harder kind of courses, events. You look at his recent form, the harder courses he's played well at. I don't mind him as a pick. And like for salary relief, makes a ton of sense. If you're looking at him he's not going to win without strokes, but let's just throw it out there. He's 110-1 to win without strokes. And I don't think he's going to win, but he could potentially, I don't know, maybe top 10 at 55 plus 550. Don't mind that.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, it's such a weird week because I feel like the Tour got lucky last year that Rory won both. I really do. Because it doesn't really make any sense. Like, remember when they first came out with the FedEx Cup playoffs, there was like no volatility. Like if you were 100, even if you were like 100th coming in the playoffs, like there was no chance you were winning the Tour Championship. Yeah. And then the next year there was like way too much volatility. And then they kind of found the niche here and there. But it's just like there has to be and Joe, who we had on earlier, I think he tweeted something about like a match play bracket, which I think would be kind of cool, especially because there's not a lot of guys on the course. And you're not going to have, for instance, Lucas Bjerregaard playing. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about showing him. Like, you're going to have the creme de la creme of PGA Tour golfers playing this match play style format at an unbelievable golf course. I think that would probably be something that makes the most sense because, like, when you watch a final of the U.S. Amateur, when the WGC match play used to be 36 holes, like, I love 36-hole match play. It's so much better.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I honestly, for me, what is it? The FIFA World Cup or whatever, the Olympics or whatever, you should do group play, top 2 go on, do it like that. Like 4 on a hole or something like that, or whatever you want to do. It's PGA Tour. You could figure it out. I would like that. That'd be a lot more entertaining than obviously you'd have the winner, but maybe then you could give like DJ and Rahm a couple more strokes in the first round of the group play. Maybe you do it that way. I do think the players do have to be rewarded, so I don't hate the current setup. It just seems like there has to be something better out there.
It has to be a better way. Has to be. And I mean, especially because being Canadian, they showed so much Billy Horschel and Mackenzie Hughes his shots were literally way more important because he controlled his own destiny. And to not show and they shove it down your throat every week from the Sony Open, projected,
They do.
And then when it matters most, they don't do it. It's incredible.
So what coverage were you watching? Because I was watching featured coverage, and I was getting a nausea. And I'm like, yes, I get it. He has to make this putt. Like, yes, I get it. It was like the reverse opposite of what you were saying, where it's like they were just shoving it down my throat. Which I don't know.
Another Canadian man, Corey Connors, 3-putting from 5 feet, costing himself $500K.
Isn't that crazy?
Or whatever the 30th place finish at the Tour Championship is, $400K maybe or something. But that's the most Corey Connors thing of all time.
It is. So you remember how I told you last week my fantasy football league was doing the whatever.
Yes.
I ended up getting Colin Morikawa. I ended up 5th, whatever. I took the 12th overall pick. That's not the point here. The point was that these guys were all getting hyped for golf, just for something so simple as that. And it was awesome to see, but also all the normal complaints that we have coming out, this coverage sucks. It's starting at 2:30. They've been golfing since 8 a.m. I'm like, yeah, that's how it goes. They're like, what do you mean it's on NBC? I was just watching on ESPN the day before. I'm like, guys, that's just how it goes. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, they get football in a week, but it's almost here.
Well, great segue there, because we'll be covering some football here for you guys next week. Me and Hazy will figure that out, whether it's going to be outright bets maybe you guys should put that in the comment section. You want some focus on outright bets, you want some focus on maybe prop bets, but we're also going to do that NFL DFS coverage like we always do. So
you already know who my outrate's going to be.
The Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and I'll bet the Green Bay Packers too.
I mean, it's the Super Bowl 2021, I guess. Is that what it would be?
In Florida as well. It's in Florida. It's at Tampa. In
Bills,
Tampa. I can't speak English anymore.
Bills versus Packers.
Oh, yeah.
Then the DFS Open 2 will be going on at the same time. It's just going to be a fiesta down there in Tampa.
Could you imagine? Drive across I-4 after the Bills smoke the Packers?
I don't think that would happen.
You can bet on that too. Like, you can bet exact Super Bowl outcome.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great. So let's do it right now. So, honestly, who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl this year?
I honestly think, quickly, I know I'm a Bills fan. I say it all the time. But I think the NFC is way harder than the AFC this year. I think sports and whether you believe in God or whatever you believe in, I think things have a way of coming around. And, Mahomes was talking about, I haven't even figured out how to read defenses yet. And it's like, all right, karma is a you-know-what. And it's like, he could struggle a little bit, but I'm not expecting him to. The team that I actually am expecting to struggle a bit, I think Baltimore. I think this year you need a strong foundation. You got Bill Belichick. I think the Bills finally have a strong foundation for the first time in a long time. You look at New Orleans with Sean Payton, even San Fran with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. With you going to some stadiums that have fans, and you like Buffalo's not going to be able to have any fans. Like, you're going to have to control your emotions and just go through the process and get ready to play and go and play football and don't worry about the distractions. And I think you're going to need a really strong organization. You look at Baltimore. Earl Thomas gets in another fight with a teammate, finally gets kicked off the team. Yeah. The Bills figured out Lamar Jackson. You have to have athletic linebackers, and then we saw what Tennessee did with their linebackers. They pretty much shut down Lamar Jackson, and once Baltimore falls behind, they have to start throwing the ball, and that's not what they're good at. So I think it's going to be, all that said and done, I think it's going to be the Bills, Ravens, and the Chiefs that are going to be there at the end, and maybe you sprinkle in a Colts or a Texans or whatever the case may be. But I think those are the three teams that are going to have the best chance of advancing to the Super Bowl. And obviously, being a little bit biased, I think having the number one seed's even more crucial this year because they're the only team that gets the bye. So whoever gets the number one seed is going to have that much an easier pathway to the Super Bowl.
So what about the NFC then?
NFC, man, I don't know why people are sleeping on the Lions. I see a lot of people sleeping on the Lions. Chicago's a mess. Minnesota's a mess. Green Bay, they didn't address the issues they did, but I still think they're fine. I think that's a little bit overblown. I think that is actually probably the easiest division. In terms of the Green Bay is actually a good team, where the other ones, NFC East, like the Eagles, if they're healthy, I guess are the best team, but they're kind of ass. NFC South, it's really just the Panthers that stink, so that's going to be a tough division. NFC West is going to be brutal, right? So the NFC North, you have Green Bay, who I think is clearly the best team in that division, and then I think there's a significant drop off with the second place team there. So, what, Buffalo, Green Bay?
Honestly, so one, I'd love the Lions as like a pick to win to make it to the playoffs.
We're getting off 3-0 or 3-0-1 or whatever.
Yeah,
and then they had that horseshit couple calls on Trey Flowers there in Green Bay, and that kind of literally derailed their season.
Well, Matthew Stafford got injured, and it just yeah, you're right. And honestly, like, you look at the Vikings are like 1 or 2 injuries away from being irrelevant this year. The Bears have their whole situation going on with their quarterback room where it's just not very good. But you mentioned a point that I like really good here for like just outright bets for NFL. I think that this season it will matter a lot more to have like a veteran quarterback who can keep his cool. And honestly, I like the Packers. I didn't like them after the draft, but now seeing the situation going on in the NFL, I like the Packers a lot just because of Aaron Rodgers. He'll be able to keep his cool. And it's like it kind of leveled out having a bad draft that the season's going the way it is. So I actually like the Packers quite a bit. And, might have to put a little parlay or something together for Bills Packers now.
And I'm a huge Miami Hurricane fan. And, you got Jonathan Garvin there in the 7th round. A buddy of mine's a huge Green Bay fan as well. So I try and get him to be a Hurricane fan now. But Jonathan Garvin's having good camp. That D-line is gross too. So, yeah, I think Green Bay is going to have another good year. I like their draft personally. Say what you want. But if you can get a potential Aaron Rodgers again, you just have to go do it. I'm sorry. You have to.
It was just the expectations on life for everything, and everyone's expectations were off for the draft. But when you take a step back, it wasn't that bad. And just in general, you're talking about training camp news coming out. Best ball drafts have been so good if you actually follow beat reporters, because some of the values out there. I've done like 12 best ball drafts now, and like I'm getting receiver number 2s laying drafts, which is just insane. Not Mike Davis.
Buffalo was banning some of the reporters too, so it's
Packers did that too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
there you go.
I don't know, it's been a little bit easier. I might do some coverage on that next week, but
hey, just like the show, not that bad.
The Not That Bad podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we'll get it wrapped up here. So I just want to give Joe a big shout out. Definitely give him a follow on Twitter, and also Chad. I know they kind of communicate together a lot on Twitter, so you can find them there. Also give their, podcast a listen, the Preferred Lines. So I always tell people, for PGA DFS specifically, or just DFS in general, you should have 3 kind of main people that you listen to. So obviously 9 to 5 should be one.
Yep,
you
number
kind
one.
of, yep, always. Just honestly though, it's kind of weird. Like people have been telling me, it's like, dude, since I actually started listening to you first, I've been doing a lot better. I'm like, yeah, it's just like, you get the picks here first, and then you can kind of gauge what other people are doing. And obviously they're kind of more of a betting focus, so they could be more of the outright focus. So you could kind of sprinkle in a little bit longer shot odds in there, and then listen to whoever else you guys somewhat like. But honestly, I think that'd be the order of operations, but also you can definitely go ahead and give them a follow. Yeah, send off, Ozzy. I think we got to work on your set off, because I had the keep cashing, which is just, that's gold.
Yeah. Keep cashing. I don't know.
Ozzy's hits. I don't know. I keep hitting with Ozzy. I don't know.
I had an Instagram account called Hazzy's House League Picks that I used to do for a little bit when I was actually winning bets.
Yeah.
Ever since the sports scene stopped, and I was not winning as many bets, I stopped. But I don't know. And for next, for the football one, I'll come up with a good send off. How about that?
Yeah.
So this is literally our last golf one for till the U.S. Open, pretty much.
Yeah,
Unless a safe way, I don't know.
I kind of like the safe way. I think I hit on Cameron Champa last year, right? He won the safe way.
Oh man, I had another one. I had $50 parlay on Arkansas to beat Texas A&M, paying 13-1. They should have beaten them. Arkansas's ass, I know, and Cameron Champ at the start of the 3rd round. It was paying $12K.
Oh no, Arkansas choked it away.
Arkansas, man.
Oh no. All right, guys. So we are out. We got Hazi's house. What was it?
League. Hazzy's House League Picks. I don't post there. I should probably start again, but.
All right, we'll work on that. But
yeah.
As always, guys, thanks for watching. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.